throwaway for obvious reasons. I, female, 21, have spent the last few weeks thinking I was losing my mind and needed to get this out somewhere. My parents are going through this horrible divorce after 23 years of marriage, and I honestly feel like nothing makes sense anymore. I'm a junior in college, about 45 minutes from my hometown. For the past 3 months, I've been coming home almost every weekend to help my mom, female, 47, pack up our family home while my younger brother Lucas, male, 18, is staying with my dad, male, 49, in this condo he rented after filing for divorce. Lucas refuses to be in the same room as mom now. The official story everyone knows is that my mom had this emotional affair with her coworker Mark about 8 months ago. Late night texting, private dinners, talking about marriage problems instead of talking to dad. My dad supposedly found these messages a few months ago and filed for divorce. Mom begged him to try counseling, but he was done. And I get it. Emotional affairs are still affairs, trust is broken, etc. Here's where things get messy, though. And oh my freaking God, this is going to be long. Sorry in advance. Last weekend, I was helping mom sort through stuff in their bedroom closet. So many boxes of random paperwork and old electronics. And I found Dad's iPad from a few years ago. I wasn't even snooping. I was literally just checking if it still worked before we decided whether to donate it. Anyway, it turned on and there were all these old messages and photos with some woman named Jennifer from 3 years ago, like explicit messages, and hotel receipts in his email, and pictures of them together looking very not professional. I was literally shaking. My whole body just went cold. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. This completely contradicted everything about my mom being the one who cheated first. I confronted my mom about it that night. After we'd finished sorting through most of the closet, she was folding some clothes and I just couldn't hold it anymore. I told mom about finding something on Dad's old iPad. At first she was confused, then suggested everything must be work-related since Dad has female colleagues. When I showed her the photos, she sat down heavily on the bed. Her face just crumpled and she looked so tired suddenly. When I told her the receipts were from summer and fall 3 years ago, June through September, she looked almost relieved about the dates, which was weird. She admitted she knew about Jennifer and had known for a long time. When I asked why she'd let everyone blame her for destroying the marriage, she explained it was complicated. She said Dad had threatened her, that if she tried to smear his reputation, he would make sure she got nothing in the divorce. She reminded me she's been a stay-at-home mom for over 20 years with no money, career, or resources of her own. When I said that wasn't fair, she just said life isn't fair and that she didn't want to drag everyone through more pain, especially Lucas, who idolizes Dad. I started pointing out some things that didn't make sense, like how she's talking about Dad's affair, but some of the dates conflict with family vacations I remember, like we were supposedly in Florida for that disastrous family trip when some of these hotel receipts are from. I distinctly remember that vacation because Mom and Dad barely spoke to each other the whole time, and we all thought it was just work stress. As soon as I brought this up, Mom got super defensive about everything, especially when I asked about the timeline with Mark. She keeps saying things shifted in different ways. First, Mark was just a friend who listened. Then later, she admits they got too close, but insists nothing physical ever happened. Then she said something that's been haunting me. If you knew what really happened, but it doesn't matter now. And when I pressed her, she just said she was protecting everyone by staying silent. Meanwhile, Lucas has gotten so cruel to Mom. He refuses to come to family gatherings if she'll be there. Makes these cutting remarks about trust and betrayal. Last week, he literally said, "I don't have a mother anymore," when I tried to get him to call her on her birthday. I was furious with him, but also, he doesn't know what I know. Almost all our extended family has sided with Dad, too. He's always been so charismatic and good at telling his side of the story. He's literally a sales executive, so he's professional at being persuasive. Only my maternal grandparents seem skeptical of the whole situation. And lately, Dad has been making these subtle comments that are messing with my head. Stuff like, "Your mother always was good at playing the victim," or "Don't let her manipulate you with those tears," whenever I mention spending time with Mom. He's never been this way before, and it's freaking me out. I feel like I'm going crazy because none of this adds up. Why would Mom take all this blame if Dad cheated first? Why are the dates so confusing? Why does mom get so weird when I ask specific questions? Why is dad suddenly trying to turn me against mom? I'm stuck in the middle of all this, and I feel like neither of them is telling me the whole truth. My brother won't even consider that dad might have done anything wrong, and mom keeps saying cryptic things about what your father really did, but won't elaborate. I honestly don't know what to believe anymore. I love both my parents, but I feel like I'm losing my family and my mind simultaneously. Edit: a lot of people are asking why I haven't told Lucas about the evidence of dad's affair. It's complicated. Mom begged me not to tell him. She's terrified about what dad might do if Lucas confronts him. She literally said, please, he'll take everything from me. And I'm worried about Lucas too. His mental health hasn't been great since all this started. Edit 2. To clarify about the Florida trip, it was summer 3 years ago, and some of Dad's hotel receipts with Jennifer are from that same time period when he was supposedly with us. Dad disappeared for like an entire day, saying he had work calls and Mom was crying in the bathroom. Edit 3. Someone asked what my dad's threatening to take from Mom. Basically everything. The house, most of their savings, etc. Mom said he's claiming she violated some prenup terms. I didn't even know they had a prenup until now. And since she hasn't worked in decades, she has no income of her own. She's terrified of being left with nothing at 47 years old. Now for the first update. I, female 21, think I caught my dad in a lie about who cheated first in my parents' divorce, but something still doesn't add up. So a lot has happened since my last post, like a lot, and I'm still trying to process everything. First, thank you to everyone who commented. I read everything, even if I couldn't respond to all of you. I'm typing this at 2 a.m. because I can't sleep with everything going on in my head. It's been about 2 weeks since I found my dad's old iPad with evidence of his affair with Jennifer, and honestly, everything has just gotten more confusing and more awful. I can't figure out what's true anymore because everyone seems to be lying. So I did what many of you suggested, probably not the smartest move looking back, and I confronted my dad about what I found. I waited until Lucas was at soccer practice last Thursday because I didn't want him walking in during the conversation. I drove to Dad's condo and I was literally shaking the whole way there. Like, I had to pull over at one point because my hands wouldn't stop trembling. When I got there, Dad seemed happy to see me at first, like normal dad stuff, asking about classes and if I needed money for books. I actually chickened out for like 20 minutes and we just made small talk. I kept thinking maybe I should just leave it alone. But then I remembered how Lucas has been treating Mom and all those horrible things he's been saying to her, and I just couldn't keep pretending. So I finally just pulled out my phone and showed him the pictures I'd taken of the iPad screen. At first he looked confused, then his whole face just changed. Like, I've never seen that expression on him before. He tried to act casual and said something like, "Where did you get these?" Not even denying it was him in the photos. I told him about finding the iPad, and he immediately got defensive, saying I was snooping through his personal property, which wasn't even the point. I told him I had seen the hotel receipts and the dates, and he just shifted strategies completely. He went from denial to justification in 2 seconds flat. He said it was just physical, unlike Mom's real betrayal with Mark, which was emotional and therefore worse. What? That's the opposite of what he's been telling everyone. Dad kept saying I was misinterpreting things and that I didn't understand adult relationships. Then he got super weird about being monitored and how Mom had always been checking up on him and how that drove him to make mistakes. I don't even know what that means. The worst part was when his tone completely changed. He went from defensive to threatening, not in a scary physical way, but in this cold way that honestly freaked me out more. He said reopening old wounds would only hurt everyone, especially Mom. Then he looked me straight in the eyes and said, "If Lucas finds out about any of this, your mother will regret it." I literally felt chills. He implied Mom had signed some kind of preliminary agreement that could be jeopardized if things got complicated. When I asked why he was rushing the divorce if he was the one who cheated first, he claimed Mom was trying to take advantage of his generosity and that I needed to stay out of adult matters. Then he basically showed me the door. I didn't recognize him at all in that moment. The thing is, while I was processing all that, I found something else that's making me question everything again. I was helping Mom set up her new laptop last weekend. She's terrible with technology. And when I was transferring her emails, I accidentally saw some messages between her and Mark from way earlier than she admitted. They weren't super explicit or anything, but they were definitely intimate, like thinking of you and wish we could talk more kind of stuff. And the dates on these emails suggest their relationship might have started around the same time as Dad's affair with Jennifer, maybe even earlier. I honestly don't know anymore. Every time I try to talk to Mom about what actually happened, her story shifts a little bit. First, Mark was just a friend who listened. Then it was, we got too close. And now it's like, I needed someone who understood what I was going through. And she keeps asking what specific dates I saw on Dad's receipts and messages, which seems weird. Like she's trying to figure out what I know before she tells me anything. Meanwhile, Lucas has gotten even worse about Mom. He skipped Grandma's birthday dinner last weekend because Mom was going to be there, which devastated Grandma. And when I tried to defend Mom, he accused me of choosing sides and asked if I was team cheater now. I haven't told him about Dad's affair because Mom literally begged me not to, saying I needed to wait until the settlement was finalized before we could fix everything. What's super messed up is Dad told Lucas he's going to fight for full ownership of the family home now, even though he initially agreed to sell it and split the money. Mom is freaking out about this because she put all her inheritance from her uncle into the down payment years ago. Mom's mental health is getting really scary too. She's lost so much weight, her clothes don't fit anymore, and she's constantly anxious. Last week at Lucas's school award ceremony, he completely ignored her when she tried to congratulate him, and she had this public meltdown in the parking lot afterward, like full-on sobbing against her car while people walked by. It was really sad to see. The weirdest coincidence happened yesterday. I literally ran into Jennifer at the coffee shop near campus. I recognized her from the photos immediately. She was friendly, she doesn't know who I am, and made some comment about being in a rush to meet my boyfriend of almost 4 years. 4 years. Dad only filed for divorce 5 months ago. But the absolute worst was this family dinner disaster 3 days ago. I get a text from Dad asking me and Lucas to meet him at this Italian place we used to go to as a family. When we get there, guess who's sitting at a table across the restaurant? Mom, with Mark. Lucas immediately stood up to leave, calling it a setup. Mom looked completely shocked and swore she had no idea we would be there. Mark offered to leave, which seemed like the decent thing to do, but Dad loudly insisted, "We're all adults here," and suggested we all sit together. It was mortifying. People were staring. Mom tried to introduce Mark to us, but Lucas refused to shake his hand and called him a homewrecker right to his face. The weird thing is, Mark looked genuinely confused by that. He kept looking between Lucas and Mom like he didn't understand what was happening. Mom was practically begging for everyone to be civil, while Dad was acting all magnanimous like, "I'm the bigger person here." I noticed Mark had his hand on Mom's back in this protective way that seemed practiced, familiar. And at one point, when everyone else was arguing, he leaned over to me and whispered that Mom had been protecting Dad for years and that I should ask about Phoenix. Then he just went back to his meal like he hadn't said anything. The dinner ended when Lucas accused Mom of parading her affair and stormed out. Dad followed him, acting all concerned, but I swear I saw him smiling as he turned away. He seemed pleased about how it all went down, even while claiming to be embarrassed. I don't know what to believe anymore. I'm convinced both my parents are hiding major truths from us. Dad's timeline about when Mom's affair started doesn't match what I've found. Mom's vague comments about what your father really did keep haunting me. And what the hell is Phoenix? A place? A person? A code word? Lucas deserves to know the facts before he cuts Mom off completely. But I'm scared about what Dad might do if I tell Lucas everything. Mom keeps insisting to wait, but won't explain why. Dad is rushing this divorce while telling relatives he's still fighting for the marriage. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Again. Edit. Several people asked what Mom meant about the preliminary agreement. Honestly, I don't know the details. Dad mentioned something about Mom signing papers regarding temporary support and house access, but said it could be reconsidered if she didn't keep the peace. It sounded vaguely threatening. Edit 2. About Phoenix. I've tried Googling, but there's obviously not much to go on. My parents went to Phoenix about 3 to 4 years ago for what Dad said was a work conference, but Mom came back early claiming she caught a stomach bug. That's literally all I know. Edit 3. Someone asked why I haven't shown Lucas the evidence of Dad's affair directly. Mom is terrified of what will happen if I do. She literally grabbed my wrists when I suggested it and said, "Please don't, not yet. I need to be able to support myself first." I've never seen her that desperate before. Edit 4. To those saying I should just stay out of it, I get where you're coming from, but you haven't seen how Lucas treats Mom now. Last week, he told her she doesn't deserve to call herself a mother after she missed one of his games because she was meeting with her divorce lawyer, but he wouldn't listen. She cried for hours afterwards. Edit 5. Several people asked about the timing. Jennifer said almost 4 years, which would put the start of their relationship around summer 3 years ago, which is when we took that Florida vacation I mentioned in my last post, where Dad disappeared for a day, claiming work calls. And yes, that's before anything happened with Mark, according to Mom's original timeline. Now for the second update. So, it's been about 3 months since my last update. I finally told Lucas everything. A lot of you were saying I should have done it immediately. And maybe you were right, but I was trying to respect my mom's wishes until things just got too horrible to keep quiet anymore. There were a few breaking points that pushed me over the edge. First, Dad brought Jennifer to Lucas's graduation dinner. Like, who does that? We were all supposed to meet at this nice restaurant to celebrate, and Dad shows up with her like it's totally normal. Mom took one look at them and literally left in tears. Lucas blamed Moem for making a scene, which made me absolutely furious. Then at Grandma's birthday gathering 2 weeks later, Lucas publicly humiliated Mom in front of our whole extended family. He made this toast where he thanked the family members who've always been loyal while staring directly at Mom. She excused herself to the bathroom and didn't come back for like 30 minutes. When I went to check on her, her eyes were so swollen from crying, I barely recognized her. But the thing that finally made me snap was finding out that Mom and Mark took a weekend trip to Chicago together, back when Dad was supposedly still trying to save the marriage. They both completely denied it when I asked, but I found the hotel confirmation in Mom's email when I was helping her with computer stuff again. So now I knew both my parents were still lying about the timeline. Oh, and I found a burner phone in Dad's condo when I was helping Lucas move some of his stuff. It had years of messages between him and Jennifer going back almost 4 years, way longer than Dad admitted to me. I just couldn't take all the lies anymore. So I invited Lucas to my apartment to talk about everything, told him I had important stuff to show him about Mom and Dad. He showed up already defensive, like he thought I was just defending Mom before I'd even said anything. I told him I wasn't defending anyone, I just wanted him to know the full picture before he completely cut Mom out of his life. I started by acknowledging that I don't have the complete truth either, that I was pretty sure both our parents were lying about different things. That seemed to get his attention. Then I showed him all the evidence I'd gathered about Dad's affair, the original iPad photos, the hotel receipts, and the messages from the burner phone. I laid out the timeline showing that Dad had been seeing Jennifer for years before anything happened with Mark. At first, Lucas tried to dismiss it as old news and irrelevant to what Mom did. But when I explained how the timeline completely contradicted what Dad had been telling everyone, he got really agitated. He started pacing around my apartment saying I could have misinterpreted things. I admitted that I'd also found contradictions in Mom's story, like the Chicago trip she denied, and emails that suggested her relationship with Mark might have started earlier than she claimed. I showed him those too. That's when Lucas accused me of forcing him to choose sides and making everything worse. I told him I wasn't asking him to choose sides. I was just giving him facts instead of the story Dad had been feeding him. He sat quietly for like 10 minutes, just staring at all the evidence. Then he asked if he could make copies of everything. I said yes. And while I was getting my laptop to send him the files, he told me Dad had said Mom's affair with Mark had started over 2 years ago, which is absolute bullshit based on everything I've found. I also showed him some threatening texts Dad had sent me about keeping the peace and not disrupting the process. That's when Lucas's anger seemed to shift from me to our parents. He said he was going to confront Dad about everything. I tried to talk him out of it, told him about Mom's fears about the settlement and Dad's threats, but Lucas was done with the lies. He said he was going to talk to both of them and get the truth once and for all. And oh my freaking God, the fallout was just devastating. Lucas confronted Dad first. Dad eventually admitted to the long-term affair with Jennifer, but tried to claim that he and Mom had an arrangement. When Lucas called him out on all his lies about the timeline, Dad got defensive and started shifting blame to Mom. Then Lucas talked to Mom. She admitted her relationship with Mark had crossed lines earlier than she'd previously stated. She finally explained that she escalated things with Mark after discovering Dad was still seeing Jennifer, even during the time her mother was going through cancer treatments. Apparently, Dad missed several hospital visits because he was with Jennifer. After those confrontations, Dad went nuclear. He revealed all these hidden financial problems to spite Mom. A second mortgage none of us knew about, massive credit card debt, depleted savings accounts. Turns out our family has been basically broke for years, while Dad pretended everything was fine. Mom countered by telling Lucas that she only got serious with Mark after confirming Dad's ongoing relationship with Jennifer. She showed Lucas texts between her and Dad from 2 years ago where she directly confronted him about Jennifer, and he told her she was paranoid and mentally unstable. It just got uglier and uglier. Lucas moved in with his friend Josh and is barely speaking to either parent now. The divorce lawyers are using the affairs as leverage in increasingly hostile negotiations. So many awful things have come out. Dad had been filtering money into a private account for years. Mom apparently knew about some of the financial deceptions, but kept quiet. Dad manipulated Mom into signing loan documents she didn't understand. Mom was monitoring Dad's communications after suspecting his affair. The family home has to be sold to cover all these hidden debts. The absolute worst part was when Dad tried to manipulate Lucas one last time, and it completely backfired. Dad texted Lucas claiming he had proof that I was manipulating everyone and turning Lucas against him. Lucas agreed to meet him at this restaurant near campus. Dad showed up with his phone, showing these screenshots of conversations between me and Mom that made it look like we were conspiring against him. Lucas asked to see Dad's phone to verify the screenshots. Dad hesitated, but eventually handed it over. That's when Lucas revealed that I'd already shown him the full conversations, not the selectively edited versions Dad was showing. Lucas confronted Dad about the selective editing, and Dad just dismissed it as showing the important parts. Then Lucas pulled out his phone and showed Dad additional messages I'd forwarded him, including Dad's threats to Mom about what would happen if she didn't stick to the story. Dad tried to grab Lucas's phone, accidentally knocking over a glass in the process. The restaurant manager came over because Dad was getting loud. Lucas just calmly announced he was cutting contact with Dad for the foreseeable future. Dad threatened to cut off Lucas's college funding. Lucas revealed that our maternal grandparents had already offered to help with tuition. As Lucas was walking out, Dad called after him that your mother will pay for this. Lucas just turned around and said he thinks Dad's finally the one who's paying. And you know what's crazy? Someone made an anonymous tip to the divorce court about Dad hiding assets. We're pretty sure it was Jennifer after their relationship imploded. Now Dad is facing potential legal consequences, including possible criminal charges for financial fraud. Mom will get a better settlement than she would have otherwise, but she's still bitter about all the public humiliation she endured. Jennifer completely left Dad and apparently provided additional evidence of financial misconduct to Mom's lawyer. Dad's public image has totally collapsed. Several family friends have reached out to apologize to Mom for believing all his lies, but there's no happy ending here. Both our parents were willing to use me and Lucas as pawns in their war against each other. There's no heartwarming reconciliation, just raw wounds that may never heal. So many questions remain unanswered about what really happened and when. Holiday gatherings are indefinitely canceled. We're still discovering new financial entanglements every week. The family home where I grew up will be sold to strangers. The only positive thing is that Lucas and I have gotten closer through all this. We're basically orphans with living parents now. At least we have each other.